shop at Mercy Mission is run by volunteers from many of the communities surrounding Hardeeville and receives donation which in turn can provide to those struggling to move out of poverty. And whereas Sister Mary Frances directly ministers clients and assists them to develop a plan so they can take steps to advance their lives positively. And whereas Sister Mary Frances is a testament to the community with her personal outreach to the basic needs of the community by her leadership and direction at Mercy Mission. Now be it therefore proclaimed by the Hardeeville City Council and Mayor Harry Williams that Sister Mary Frances
Senior sister.
is a recipient of the 2023 Heartbeat of Hardeeville Award for her devotion to Mercy Mission and her dedication to the community. Claimed this second day of March 2023, Harry Williams, Mayor. Council, may I have a motion? Thank you, please. Council, may I have a motion to endorse both proclamations?
I will make that motion. I would like to have that a unanimous motion for both proclamations.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Council, will you please join me up front and we'll take some pictures, okay, sister? Before we take pictures, please, you want to say something to the community?
As it said in the proclamation, this is a joint effort. I can't do anything without all these people that are here to support it. They are the frontline workers. I tell them every day that I just orchestrate, and they keep saying, yeah, but you know what instruments to orchestrate. So I say trumpets, clarinets. But anyway, I am very honored to accept this in behalf of all of Hardeeville. It makes me cry to think that I'm humbled by it. And I ask you to continue in your thoughts and prayers for Mercy Mission and what we are able to do. And we can only do it because we have all of these people from Margaritaville and every place, all the communities around. It truly is one community. So I thank you.
For those of you who don't know, it was March 2020, almost 3 years ago, that the pandemic closed things down. And at that time, many of the people in the community donated a lot of food and a lot of things happened because, correct me if I'm wrong, the number of families that were serviced once the pandemic hit was quadrupled. And what was going on at Mercy Mission at a time when everything was closed down, they devised a system to be safe for their volunteers, and they serviced so many new people while particularly that initial thing come on. And the volunteers, they were really humming. You deserve this. It's long overdue, actually. Council, let's take some pictures.
You get the whole. Go on up. John.
Carol's trying to tickle me. I I was trying not to burst out into laughter.
Thank you. There you go.
Everything okay?
I always say this, but we have our council meetings are so stimulating that I'm sure many of you want to stay. But for those of you who just came for the presentations, don't feel you won't hurt our feelings if you want to leave. So,
Mayor,
thank you.
Mayor, you could have said there's something free in the hallway as
He said he'd be right back.
recipients. Don't forget to take your signs.
Oh, yeah, your sign.
Don't forget your signs.
You can take yours.
Put it up, don't worry.
Oh my gosh, the room is. Outside in the hallway.
Yeah, well, there's
John, we'll get some pictures of you and Liz in the sign tomorrow.
You don't want to come over.
Yes, we will. Congratulations. I see that sign every morning.
Yes, all right. This is like changing classrooms between classes, I think. Okay, we're going to go on to the next item on our agenda, which is the appointment of ministerial recorder pursuant to Article 1, Section 12.6 of the Hardeeville Code of Ordinances. Judge Nancy Gutierrez. it's
Good
all yours.
afternoon, Mayor, Council, and City Manager. We are here before you as to recommend Melissa Paget, better known as Lisa, our clerk of court, as a ministerial recorder. Just a little bit of a background is within our ordinance. It's pretty much an administrative judge which can handle sign arrest warrants, search warrants, do bond hearings. And with the increase of cases that we have had lately, just to let you know, just this week only, we have had close to 500 cases and bond hearings, not to mention. So pretty much it is a need for our court. We had it before. So Lisa, she is well and duly qualified for this position. She has more than 20 years in the court system, and being with Hardeeville for 4, she is well duly qualified for this position, and we recommend that she be appointed for the ministerial recorder today.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Any questions from the council?
No questions, Mayor, except to say that Nancy's right. Nancy used to have that position under me. And a lot of times you get to Ridgeland and something comes up with the police department. Either you had to make them wait or come back. Well, this way it's Nancy's in Ridgeland. Something comes up, Lisa can take care of it. And she
Yes.
is very much qualified.
And just to piggyback on that, if something unforeseen happens, the city is covered. Yes, sir.
Nothing's going to happen to you.
Well, I hope not, but just in case, you know. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions by anyone on council? Okay, seeing none, I would like to have a motion to approve the appointment of the ministerial recorder,
Yes, sir.
Mayor,
Melissa Paget. Okay. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, can I make that motion?
You certainly may.
I would like to make the motion that we approve Lisa for the ministerial recorder's position.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Well, on behalf of the court, thank you. Now, there's one more thing that needs to be done, being that she is now the ministerial recorder. She has to take the oath of office. Okay, thank you.
Do you need me, Judge, or are you going to do that?
I'll do it, sir. That's fine. Thank you. All right, if you can please raise your right hand for me and place your hand on the Bible, and we'll step back so I can be on the microphone. Step forward, sorry. I, Melissa Paget, do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified according to the Constitution of this state to exercise the duties of the office to which I have been appointed, and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge the duties thereof, and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of this state and of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations.
I knew I had something I had to do. I just couldn't remember what it was. I have to sign. I can keep the pen? Is it engraved? Oh, she wants it back.
Good evening and congratulations.
Next, we have the presentation and approval of minutes from the February 16th, 2023 regular city council meeting. Before I turn this over, I'd just like to say thank you to the Mayor Pro Tem for filling in my absence. I did watch it, and you did a wonderful job. And I'll get a recall if you keep doing that good. Any rate, I'd like a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to the minutes of February 16th.
Mr.
I'll
Mayor,
make the motion that we approve the minutes from the February 16th meeting that was chaired by our Mayor Pro Tem.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions by council? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I will abstain because even though I did watch it, I was absent. Now we go into old business. The second reading of an ordinance to adopt a master plan submittal for a tract of land consisting of approximately 30 acres known generally as the residence at Oakity Crossing to include a portion of the parcel 079-00-00-001 located off Oakity Crossings Drive and to amend the official zoning map of the city of Hardeeville to indicate that portion subject to the master plan. This is ordinance 2022-11-17B, and for the edification of the public, this is the second reading, second vote, and second public hearing, and if passed tonight, there will be no further readings or votes. This is the last one. So, Mr. Zimbor, you want to take it away?
Yes, sir, thank you. After going through the detailed planning process, review by the Planning Commission, 2 workshops by the city council and then the first reading. There were several changes to the master plan, which has been incorporated into the document. We're recommending adoption at second reading.
Okay, let me open up the questioning with Mr. Carroll, please.
No, sir, I think, between the workshops and, the other questions that I've had, have all been answered, and, I think the, developer has, addressed all the concerns as much as he could, and I don't have any more questions.
Mr. White?
What I just caught my attention very deeply because I live in Sun City, and like so many of us, I've heard from folks. And I went back through this, and I'd like to make a couple comments, if I might, Harry, about the history a little bit.
Absolutely.
This was approved in 2008 in the master plan. Then it was amended in 2021. And it meets all the criteria that were very important to me, things like use, location, density, building height, roadways, traffic, landscaping, parking, buffers, setbacks, primary trees, provisions. And in this process, there was a lot of concerns and a lot of responses back from the developer. So it wasn't a situation where we weren't giving concerns. We also had the workshops, and I was very pleased so many folks turned out to give their feedback because it's very helpful. Kevin, thank you, and Verna, thank you for sort of your role in representing Sun City. We appreciated that, and we appreciated your feedback, and we took it very, very seriously. And so this was a time where I thought there was a lot of give and take. I appreciate the developers listening and coming back and forth. And so those are comments I'd just like to share about this, because I think it's important that something as important as this doesn't get, as someone had once said, rubber stamped, or we just push it through the rug, or we push it through. There was a lot of deliberation and thoughtful planning on this. So that's my comment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mrs. Guzman?
The stormwater issue has been the biggest issue for myself. A tremendous amount of stormwater that was going to get pushed through that 48-inch pipe into Sun City's lagoons. That was my biggest issue. I just want to find out, have you received definitive approval from the Sun City POA in writing to connect to the pipe and channeling the stormwater into Sun City's lagoons?
Good afternoon. Heath Duncan, Ward Edwards Engineering. Thank you for that question. Yes, I can inform you that we do now have this email, so I would consider that in writing. We do have a response from the Sun City Community Association. It's from Brad Phillips, who's the general manager, on behalf of the board, and copied to them and their attorney. It grants preliminary approval of the 2 connections, the water system and the drainage system, then pending providing to them final designs when we have those. So they still want to look at those. So what we have from them is a preliminary approval of both of those points of connection.
So at any time during those considerations, if something goes south, do you have a backup plan for that? For the stormwater diversion, if something comes up and they says, well, you know what, we can't do this way, do you have a backup plan for that?
I think there may be some other options. We would certainly look into them if that doesn't come through. But at present, it appears that it looks like it's advancing forward and that they're approving of that connection.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mearensman?
I can certainly say, coming on to the council back in January, this project had already been in the works. It was certainly a trial by fire with working with the developer staff and the residents of Sun City. I'm very happy with the outcome that we have come to. I think the council and the city as a whole has performed our duties of good governance, and I really applaud the developer. I'm looking very forward to seeing your product come up out of the ground because I think it's a very nice product and it will be a great addition to the city of Hardeeville.
I'm going to combine my comments with those from the public. I have a number of emails here that I want to make sure they get into the public record, and there may be some questions. I also want to follow up. I have also the minutes from that meeting. I just want to follow up on some of the points that we all agreed to. First of all, the first question, Mr. Zimbor, came up. Some of the documents that were in the packet did not have all the changes, and have they been, in the official documents, have they been officially changed?
Yes, sir.
Everything we agreed at the last minute is now in the public documents.
Yes, sir.
I had a email from Ms. Ross, and I think she asked for the signed agreement that Mrs. Guzman brought up, so that's the answer to that. We also have received, since that meeting, some questions from Ms. Ross. The BJWSA water and sewer capability access is an 8-inch water pipe on Dreamscape and an 8-inch gravity sewer pipe on Dreamscape. Is this a sufficient source to support approved homes at final build-out, plus the new project on parcel F? So do we have clearance from BJWSA?
Another project.
Oh, these are towards, excuse me.
Other project is.
Okay, I'm sorry, I confused. We'll bring that up later. This is from Mr. Robert Coleman. He has a number of questions that I think we failed to bring up at the last meeting, but the developer, I think this is the right one, proposes a bioswale as a viable screening tool in his new 100-foot wide buffer. It is not a bioswale, requires a virtual clear cut, followed by backhoes digging thousands of cubic yards of soils and roots. Council needs to consider what will the maximum depth of the bioswale be? What will the average depth of the bioswale be? How many taller canopy trees does the developer expect to save after undercutting the bioswale area? Will digging out the bioswale endanger any existing Sun City Hilton Head trees or saved taller trees that have 30 to 75-foot root systems? Does replanting below grade really meet the intent of the MZDO buffer yard requirements for replacing pre-existing vegetation? Will replanted vegetation survive long-term submersion when the bioswale is periodically flooded with stormwater? I've forwarded this to Mr. Zimbor. Have you any responses to that should be read into the record?
No, sir, other than the fact all those issues are dealt with at site review committee. So I think the council knows it, just for the public edification. At this stage and point, there's only very preliminary engineering is done. They get readiness to serve letters from the utility companies, but all the devils in the details after the entitlement process is done. So that will all be handled through the site review committee, and we obviously have all the professionals that will look at all those issues.
Okay, so what I would ask is that I have forwarded Mr. Coleman's to you and the council. I would ask that this be put into the folder for the site review committee, and that these questions be answered at that time, and Mr. Coleman be notified of whatever questions that he has forwarded.
We can do that, sir.
We can
Yes.
do that?
Yeah, we can.
Thank you. All right. The amendments are done. Okay. Now I'm going to go on to the minutes, and I just want to make sure that everything has been followed through on. We already discussed we got the answers from the Sun City POA. One of the things in the minutes was that I've requested several times that we have a workshop on the tree policy, because there seems to be some confusion, at least on my part, on what that is and what it should be. I think this council should reconsider the entire requirement. Okay, Mr. Lombard asked to reconsider this project until they can deep dive into the traffic study. And what we said at that time is that we would have a workshop, actually two. One that would have the entire traffic study and plan for the entire, what we're calling the triangle corridor, that be conducted. And at the last LATS committee, I asked Mr. Zimborg to work with Beaufort County, and that this be a regional workshop, that we include all the surrounding jurisdictions and educate the public on what the plans are and the traffic studies that have been held in that area. Also, the other workshop that we told the community we would hold, and that is to have a workshop that explains the entire stormwater system to the public. These are both to be information for the public, so they understand exactly what's going to be happening to traffic and the stormwater in that area. Okay, the other parts of it are for the next project. So I think I've responded or read into the record all the emails that I've gotten. I've gotten a lot more, but they were handled at the workshops. But at this time, now I would like to open it up to the public. If there is some still outstanding issues that this council has not considered, some additional ones that have come up in your mind since then, please come forward at this time. Yes, Ms. Ross.
I'm not a question so much as a comment. And I
Please, please.
Peter Ross.
Okay, Vita Ross,
19 Mystic
and your
Point
address,
Drive.
please.
And I do want to thank everyone, the developers, the people who organized the workshops, city council, because in my mind, this has been a very good model of the way that we can all work together to be good neighbors and to get good, accurate information on the table so that we're not making assumptions that fall through later. That said, the only comment that I have to make is following the documents, because you know I'm a nitpicker, okay? Following the documents, it was kind of hard to figure out what we would be addressing or what we would be considering at this meeting, because the plan that was attached to the agenda, the public agenda, was the one from 1025. And when I looked at it, it didn't seem to have the changes in it that we had discussed. And it's not a criticism, it's just a point of order at this point, that it would be helpful if the things could be updated.
And again, thank you for that. I did forward that request from you, and Mr. Zimbor said that it was put in the final document. And I think what you're referring to, we had agreed to certain things like the 10-foot fence, where it was located, increasing the buffer. All those things are now, and Madam Attorney, please confirm, they are in the final documents, correct?
Yes, you asked for them to put in there, so they will, the signed documents or recorded documents will include it.
So they're going to put me on the hook because I have to sign all this if it passes.
All right. But I do, again, I want to thank everybody because this has turned out to be a very positive experience.
And thank you, Ms. Ross and Mr. Lombard. You know, this, when you talk about being a model, we, the council, are much smarter when we have every interested party giving us input. we're not we're not experts on a lot of areas, and we don't see things through the eyes of what you see as neighbors who are affected by it. And the process that has gone through and your input and what you got from a lot of your neighbors, I think has been tremendously helpful. And it is a model. We do need the public to help us in our deliberations, and I thank you. Okay, so now that we've had the public hearing and council has made their comments, I would now entertain a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to, this is ordinance 2022-11-17B.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve the ordinance as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. We're going to call for a voice vote on this. Any further comments or questions by council or the public? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ordinance passes. Good luck, gentlemen. Build a good product, or we're going to come after you. And I won't have, I'm going to send Miss Ross and Mr. Lombard after. Thank you. Good luck.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Okay, next, we have the second reading of an ordinance to annex TMS 080-00-3-078 into the city of Hardeeville, consisting of approximately 1.141 acres of real estate located in Jasper County, not already within the city limits of Hardeeville, as well as all adjacent public rights-of-way, railroad rights-of-way, waters, lowlands, and wetlands. This is ordinance 2023-2-2B. I also want to make a note that item number C, after that is, and D, excuse me, after that vote, there is another ordinance to amend the zoning and another ordinance to adopt the master plan for this entire project. So there's three ordinances involved here. This is all second reading, and again, the vote tonight would be the last vote. So what I would ask council and the public, even though they're three separate issues, they're all one project. So please lump in all your comments, whether for all three for this project as we go forward. So I'm going to start with Mr. Zimbo. Do you have anything to add since the last meeting?
No, sir, I think you did a wonderful recap. We recommend adoption and second reading of the three items.
Okay, let's start the questioning this time with Mr. Mearsman.
Mr. Mayor, at this time, I would like to table item B until the April 6th meeting to be able to discuss with Beaufort County and LATS the traffic issues and the concerns on Highway 170.
Okay. Mrs. Guzman.
I go along with Steve's motion right now. I think we should table it until we get more information, because I'm very concerned the fact that we still don't have any confirmation about the deceleration and acceleration lanes or any kind of anything from SC dot, and we don't know if we're even going to get it. I'm just very concerned about the public safety of this whole project, actually.
Mr. White.
I share the concern of public safety. I don't support tabling it.
Mr. Carroll.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised. Usually when we table something, we usually discuss it, so I'm kind of caught off guard, but, so like two people said they were for it, so, but like I say, we usually discuss this beforehand.
I apologize for that. I will retract my comments at this time.
Okay, well, there's been no motion. These are just comments. We haven't gone through the public yet, so there is no vote at this point.
There was a motion to, I thought you said you made a motion to table this. And I believe I heard
We
a
have,
second
we
from
have
Ms.
not,
Eastman.
we've not finished the conversation. So there is no, I haven't called for a motion. I haven't called for a second. So there's still, this is still conversation. I'd still want to hear from the public before we go to any motion. Okay? So having, there's a number of things, and I'm going again through the notes and through the minutes of the first February meeting a month ago, February 2nd. And I'm going to go through my comments at that time. I have concerns about the traffic and all the cuts that are within 3/4 of a mile, which is from Tidewatch to Green Acres. There's a lot of cuts coming in there. And I think at the last time we talked about the acceleration lanes and the deceleration lanes. I even asked that we eliminate one of the access points into there. And I'm going over the minutes here. Last week, there was another accident at Tidewatch, or at Riverwalk. That there was an accident at Tidewatch too, but Riverwalk is one of the cuts that we're talking about. And my first question in regards to this is, have we discussed this traffic plan with Beaufort County, who controls 170? Mr. Zimbor or anyone?
Traffic engineers here.
Are they aware of this?
South Carolina DOT actually controls 170, and I'm going to let the applicant speak because they do have some information that they just received from them. So I will let them speak to that.
Okay.
Good evening, y'all. Connor Blaney with Ward Edwards Engineering. Thank y'all for your time tonight. Happy to be here. I know since the last meeting, some concerns were brought forth in traffic and some suggestions about pursuing making the first curb cut an entrance only at the entrance north of Green Acres Drive. As Katie alluded to, 170 is owned and maintained by SCDOT. The developer has committed to pursue the option that was suggested since the last meeting. We proactively reached out to SCDOT. Unfortunately, they have responded that they're not willing to support a entrance only, which takes us back to the original proposed right in, right out, and a full access on Green Acres Drive, which we have a full traffic study and the traffic engineer here in which the study supports that.
Okay, no offense to the traffic engineer, but what that study does tells us how many cars coming in and out. The concern, as was brought up at the last meeting, was the fact that we have all those cuts in 3/10 of a mile between Riverwalk and Green Acres. And so we have Riverwalk, this proposed access, you have the propane graveyard, and then you have Green Acres, all in a short period of time. What was said at the last meeting that we would make that right in, right out only?
It was suggested an entrance only,
Entrance only.
which we pursued with SCDOT, and they do not support an entrance only.
They would not. So the request that we made at the last meeting has been turned down.
By SCDOT.
Doesn't matter who it is. The situation exists.
Right.
And so I think I understand where Mr. Mearsman and Mrs. Guzman are coming from. I think we need some further study. I think we need to get, Beaufort County, who has to deal with this road, knows nothing about this, nothing. And they have a very good traffic guy and who's worked on the corridor access plan. I think I'd like to hear some other alternatives. I'm not against the project. The traffic there is a nightmare. And we said that at the last meeting. And now we have no relief of what our suggestion was. It's not what we asked for. And we were concerned before. I would just like to hear some other options from some other people. And I mentioned Beaufort County because, you know, they're dealing as well as with Jasper County and the city of Hardeeville with that whole corridor. And now we're going to add in another project in a very sensitive area without, where's the deceleration lanes, the acceleration lanes? How's that all going to come together? There's a lot happening in that 3/10 of a mile. I'd like to hear somebody else's opinion. Look for ideas. And maybe there's not. But perhaps, and I'm going to quote Mr. White because I think he has a great quote. Let's not be in a hurry to make a mistake. I'd like to reach out to Beaufort County and their traffic experts and see what they think. Maybe we're nuts. If they, you know, maybe somebody who's not invested in it like we are, you know, say, hey, it sounds good to me. Or maybe they'll have another idea on how we can facilitate the danger that, to me, is in there. So I do support their call for table and to reach out to some more people and get more opinions and look for another solution since the one we asked for last time has been turned down. So let's not rush to make a mistake. Let's see if there's another idea. And that's all I'm saying. You know, that's existed a long time, and I know I don't want to disappoint you, but it's been there a long time. It can wait another couple of weeks until we see if we can come up with another traffic idea. Okay? So that's just my opinion.
Completely understand. I mean, we would love a full access or a traffic light, but our hands are tied to the confines of what SCDOT will allow. However, we're more than happy to try to reach out to Beaufort County and get their traffic guys involved.
Jared Freilich is a top-notch guy. He's been dealing with that corridor access plan, and you know what? It's another set of eyes, another expert that can take a look at it and say, hey, I got an idea. What does it hurt if we entertain somebody else's opinion and somebody's eyes on the project? Because the concerns about traffic obviously still exist. And again, like a lot of things that come in front of this council, the project's not a problem. It's the location and the traffic that safety concerns we have for the public. Okay, so I personally would ask that we hold this off and reach out to some other interested parties.
Steve, your suggestion in light of what we've just heard has a tremendous amount of merit. And I think hearing what I had, I'm going to withdraw my suggestion because I think you've hit the nail on the head, particularly after I've heard this, which was a surprise to me and disappointment. Thanks for your work on it. But Harry's point about hearing more and looking more, I think, so well taken as a light of what you've just said from my perspective.
Why don't we hear from the public on this? Is anybody, you know, because obviously, like I just said on the last project, whatever help we can get from people makes us a little smarter. And we don't want to rush into something if we can get people's ideas. So please, whoever wants to come first. Ruth, please state your name and address.
Ruth Kasner, 467 Sherwooder. I'm in Sun City, and last week I had the opportunity to head to Beaufort early in the morning. In looking at where this property exists, there was no way anybody could have either turned into that property or out of that property with the backup that was on 170. And I had said something to Mr. Mersman after the last public hearing about this area too. This piece of property with the development that's going on it, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, nobody mentioned the fact that that is a prime property for apartments or condos that will have children in them, which means there's going to be a school bus probably turning in and out of that area. And so I think anything that the council can do to make it safer for the children that will be on that school bus and the other people that will be in the cars, I think it's a wise decision to hold up on making any decision until this property and this entrance and exit are developed and figured out how to do it safely.
Thank you. Ms. Ross. Are you going to be a nitpicker again? I'm just kidding.
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
kidding.
Point Drive, right? The only comment I have to make is that as I was coming to the meeting this afternoon, there was an accident. It was a little further up. It was at the intersection of Argent and 170. It had the westbound lanes blocked. Okay. And because I do have Nixle, I hear a lot of accidents twice a day, some days, every other day, some days. And I'm just wondering if it would make sense in some way as we're looking at all of this traffic situation to get a report of the number of accidents that have occurred in that area and the direction in which the traffic was moving. I don't know. It just seems to me that we're looking at numbers of cars going by. We're looking at ins and outs. We're looking at traffic lights, but I haven't heard anybody say for the safety issue, we've looked at the number of accidents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Okay, so we've heard from council, we've heard from the public. Council, if please give me a motion. What would you like to do?
Mr. Mayor, first, I would like to withdraw my previous motion. I made a mistake by popping it off right. So I would like to withdraw my motion to table the item.
Do we have a motion to do anything?
Mr.
Mayor.
Yes.
You don't need a second to.
All right.
I
Okay.
didn't consider that an official
Okay,
motion.
all right, then Mr. Mayor, I would appreciate, I will make the motion to table B, C, and D until such time that a traffic study can be arranged and a meeting with Beaufort County, among the council, and staff and the developer. The next possible date for, to bring this back, I will put as April 6th.
Okay, so we have a motion to table these three ordinances. And Madam Attorney, can we do all three at once, or we have to do one by one?
You can do them all at once, but we need a date certain.
Okay, so you need a date.
April 6th. Okay.
So the motion is to table these three ordinances until April 6th. And in the interim, arrange for some meetings with Beaufort County. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments from council or the public? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilman Mearsman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guzman,
Aye, yes.
Mayor Pro Tem White,
Yes.
Councilman Carroll,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes, I would, um, I would suggest that not only do we contact Beaufort County, tell them what's going on, ask for input, but also LATS. I would like to LATS to know because they're the ones that commissioned the corridor access plan in 2018. Katie was part of that. I'm the vice chair of the policy committee. I think that they are very much invested in the whole fix of 170 that's been proposed. So let's get their opinion. Let's let them know what's going on. We'll get their opinion, see if we can come up with some suggestions that will make this development safer. And we'll come back on April 6th. Is that okay, Mr. Zimbor? Thank you. All right. So item B, C, and D will be, the second reading will be brought back on April the 6th. Next, we have, where are we? The second reading of an ordinance to amend the budget for the city of Hardeeville, South Carolina for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022 and ending July 30th, 2023, or June 30th, 2023. This is ordinance 2023-2-16C. Mr. Boyle.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
We had the first reading of this back on February 16th. Pretty innocuous quarterly budget amendment. And I'm happy to walk through it again or answer any questions or whatever you guys would prefer. Seeing a head shake. No, heard it once. That was enough? Yes, sir?
It was informative, but very dry.
What I do.
Okay. Let's start. Where would I start? Mr. Carroll, do you have any comments or questions?
No comment.
Mr. White?
Just something I'd like to call to your attention, John, and that is we are a growing city and we have a lot of staff here that are growing with us. I'm concerned that I don't see, and maybe you can point it out to me, an emphasis on management development, employee development, so that the people that are in their jobs that need some additional skills can get it through a variety of ways, and that takes money through educational assistance, et cetera, et cetera. Is that a consideration that you're thinking about? And just talk to me about my concern. I know that you're astute and you look at things like this, but I worry about it, John.
Oh, sir, I would never want to make it be all about me, but last week I had the opportunity to attend GFOA's Leadership Academy, and it was 1 week of getting away with people from all across the nation that had the opportunity to step back from the day-to-day and do exactly what you're talking about being the opportunity to be a leader in plan develop or the longer term stuff rather than just the day-to-day number crunching, which Mr. Mearsman does not think is all that exciting. So yes, so I mean, from a personal standpoint, I had the opportunity to do that, and I've always sensed that, certainly in my department and in others, that we do look at that. I have one person who's taken a series of classes largely on her own time, and I believe that I could say that the city manager is very much. We've got 2 people in the leadership Sakahatchee currently. I mean, we do that.
And I think we do. There's a tier there that you've addressed for those programs. And where I'm talking is the tiers below that, the folks that are at, I'm not going to use the word lower, but different job levels to make sure that they're being trained too. Is just something to throw to you. I'm not criticizing. I'm just making sure that you're thinking that way.
I'll answer that better than I would.
Yeah, Bo, on that, or Councilman White on that, for 3 things. So everybody has an extensive, travel, training, and certification budget, which they highly encourage their people to be better than what they are if they want to, be whatever they want to be. So we have a process to do that. Secondly, we just established a training and certification compensation program. So if you get an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a specific certification, specific designation, they get paid for it. So we're really encouraging people to do that. And then thirdly, we, as you know, we pay for educational reimbursement. So it's people that take courses that better themselves, the city pays a certain amount, for those certification and courses. So we're all about continuing and succession planning and getting people from, first base to home.
With the programs available, then it becomes the responsibility of employees for their career development. And we just want to make sure that we got programs. Sounds like we do, and that's good.
Yeah, and they're encouraged from the city manager through the directors and managers and everything to avail themselves of those opportunities.
Thank you, John.
Sir.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Great job, gentlemen.
Mrs. Guzman.
I have no comments, sir. But thank you.
Mr. Mearsman.
It's very refreshing to be able to rely on such expertise on these matters, because honestly, working with numbers like that is way over my head, and I have complete trust in you and the department on these matters.
Thank you. And we are working to make it less onerous and more of a user-friendly presentation as we grow as well. Thank you, though.
Okay, I have no questions to add to it. I did watch last meeting, and I'm aware of it, so I have no questions. Let's open it up to the public. Does the public have any questions about this budget amendment? Seeing none, I'd like a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to ordinance, the second reading of ordinance 2023-2-16C.
I will make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments by the public or the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, second reading has passed. New business. A resolution of the City of Hardeeville, South Carolina City Council setting immediate, short, and long-term goals and objectives for 2023 and beyond, while directing the city manager to focus the city's resources to accomplish the stated goals and objectives. This is a resolution which only calls for one vote. It's 2023-3-2A. Mr. Zimbor, please.
Yes, thank you, sir. So Mr. Parsons is as always, does a wonderful job, obviously compiling and developing. But we did have our annual retreat on January 10th. We did have a facilitator. We took all kinds of feedback and brainstorming. We came up with goals and objectives, and Mr. Parsons did a yeoman's job compiling all those goals and objectives and tactics into a document. And we're recommending the council adopt the resolution 23-3-2A, which sets the goals and objectives for 2023 and beyond. Mr. Parsons.
Good evening,
Welcome.
Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
I think in front of you in your packet, at least you have this document. I think they're also trying to look for it to bring it up as well. So this was the document that was comprised through our annual strategy retreat meeting that we took place in January, that we spent numerous hours on between council and department heads going through and coming up with at that point, we went through that. I think it ended up being 20 some goals or something listed. And our facilitator and stuff indicated to us at that point is that some of these goals is not necessarily goals. Some of them are more action items. Some of them are more different things of that sort. And so when I come back and look at this information and started going through it, and we've done the same process, and I've been in charge of this same process for past several years. And what we do is normally have a big long list of goals, and we approve those goals for the year. I think last year or something, it was a 30-some, whatever it ended up being. We always talk about it, but we always have gaps, because when we establish those goals, it doesn't necessarily always match up to what you all go through as the budgetary process. And furthermore, like if you all read the accomplishment list that I've produced for 2022, all of a sudden you'll say, this is great. We've done a lot, but at the same time, not all of them fit into the goals that we had established or approved. And that's just the way some of this ends up being. And so what I've done, the goals that we worked on at that retreat, I moved them over to objectives, because when I sit there and looked at the list itself, I said, this is more of an objective than a goal. And so it's basically the column and stuff. We didn't have objectives set up before. The way this form came out, it only had tactics, and of course it had some blanks and stuff in there. Then it had the objective line set as goals. So what I did was came in and I actually developed unique goals for each one of these categories of the governance administration, all the way through the 5 different categories of pillars that we have that for the city. These goals are more of a approach that everything kind of falls into it, that we will move forward with this year and years forward on how things match up. I mean, for instance, we talked about the first one. So it's build strong connections with community partners and residents, employees. Now your objectives under that talks about building communication with Jasper County as what we talked about as a critical need. So that at the same time, the enhanced two-way communication internally and externally still goes underneath the same goal as building that level of communication stuff, community partners, residents, and employees. So what I've done there, I went through, established, I think it's a total of 6 new goals for the city and for the council to look at and improve, that basically sets us in a direction that says this document makes sense now, and it will actually make sense with everything we move forward with, going through the budget process, and also, our accomplishments and stuff at the end of the year. So I'm happy to answer any questions. We can go through each of the goals and read them out loud so people can hear that if we want to do that. But I mean, up to you guys how we proceed. So.
We'll go through the questioning process, and if anyone wants to go over a specific one, they'll ask you that question. So let's start with Mr. Mearsman this time.
I have none at this time. This is my first experience with this, and I appreciate the work that has gone into this, and I think it's the objectives now are very well placed, and I think they're something that we can work to accomplish. I appreciate the fact that they are now objectives instead of goals.
Mrs. Guzman.
Thank you, though, for all this hard work.
Mr. White.
I agree that the objectives editing that you did makes it a lot more sensible to me. Good job.
Mr. Carroll.
Good job, Neil. And I see some of the goals have already we started working on already. So good job.
How do you track this, like, during the year? We've got these, so often goals get done like this, they get put away, then we pull them out. Do you have, like, in engineering, you had Gantt charts where you had all these objectives and you had them filtered out through the year, so you saw the progress or the lack of progress, and you reported on that?
We do, and I think our deputy city manager usually has done the updates back to you guys on where those goals were. Like, for instance, 2022.
Yeah.
He came in and did the updates on the goals throughout the year. So we do have ways and stuff internally that we track these goals. And some of them is a matter of making this a completion or not. So all of a sudden that's an easy goal to track, because it's something, as you're moving forward to it, once you complete that, you've got a good report and stuff to say we've completed this at X amount of time. Some of them still ongoing. Some of them, you start at the beginning of the year, you get to the end of the year, you made progress. We track that, but it still may not be finished yet because you still got more work and stuff to do. So that's always being reported stuff to you all as well.
Progress.
And it filters down to various employees so that they have these conscientious things they're working on as part of
That is
mission.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I just have it's probably more comments than anything else regarding the goals. And I agree with everyone else. The way it's set up is really clear, and it sets up what we want to try to do. And being these objectives, there's a couple of comments that I would like to set forward. First of all, we talked about, meetings and joint council meetings with Jasper County. I think we just lost a real good opportunity the other day when we had a meeting about Exit 3, and now the attorneys are going to do it 2 more times to Jasper County and to the Board of Education. Those are opportunities where really, and I said this to the attorneys one of the breaks, that should have been a joint meeting. And that way we didn't have to pay the attorneys 3 times. And we could have all been in that room, Jasper County, the Board of Education, and everybody. So what I'm suggesting is that a joint meeting with Jasper County. Chairman Sauls, I had breakfast with him, and he wants to move this forward. We should get a joint meeting, even if it's just to say hello, as soon as possible. Let's get that going. I've also talked with our Mayor Pro Tem White, and in terms of the two-way communication within what Bo and I would like to do is set up an informal frontline staff, not management, little luncheons with police, fire, and public works. There are 3 biggest departments. We can't do the whole council without it being a public hearing, so we'd like to just give the frontline staff the opportunity to interact with Bo and I, and maybe we can rotate who goes, because we can only do 2 at a time. But Mr. Zimbor, I think this was Mr. White's suggestion, and I think it would be a good one, and it fits into the objectives that we have here to have more interaction with staff. So I'd like to get that set up, and then, maybe even film it so the rest of the council can see that later on and know exactly what's happening. And if there's any other suggestions on how to do these informal interactions with staff, please let's forward that to administration. Did we start working the new resident welcome package kind of thing that we said? Have we started working on that? Do we have a time frame to get that going? And again, you don't have to answer it, but I think that should be a high priority, to get an information package. We had almost 1,200 single-family home permits last year, and 700 or 800 COs issued. So there's a lot of new residents coming every year. The first month, we had 130 permits, so we're selling still like crazy. The sooner we get that packet, I think that should be a high priority in and it's one of our objectives. Veterans Park, the Hub, and White Hardeeville Boulevard. I'm almost 7 years as mayor and almost 8 years on council, and I've been asking for this. I think we need to get this done, particularly the Veterans Park. I think that needs to be a high priority objectives to start moving. We haven't even done the ordinances that the master plan calls for, that was completed, 3 years ago? So I think that finally has to become a priority, okay? And we've had a lot of, I know recently we've had emails and some pictures about code violations on White Hardy Boulevard. That's the easy stuff, the change of ordinances and getting the code enforcement. Let's make that a priority. That's my opinion only, okay? And of course, lastly, I think it's a high priority to get that traffic workshop scheduled and that's part of communicating to the residents. Let's communicate what's going on with traffic. It's becoming a bigger and bigger issue in this entire region. So those are my comments on what, with these objectives that I think should be high priorities to get moving like tomorrow.
I did want to add one thing to Mayor. The way this goals objectives are set up, the objectives and tactics become a fluid document that as we grow throughout the year, changes and stuff can be made that we can add to this document. The goals and stuff, we've got it written in such a way that they don't have to be changed, because everything that we add to it will mirror back into those goals. So just wanted to point that out.
Okay, thank you. And again, it's a good job and setting goals and using yardsticks that we can move forward this year is so tremendously important, and you do a good job with that. So thank you. Okay, would anybody from the public like to make a comment on the goals of the city for 2023? Seeing none, I'd like a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to the Resolution 2023-3-2A. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. I'm sorry, Harry, can I see your paper there? What was, I lost my place. Resolution, excuse me, 2023-3-2A.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the resolution. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions by council or the public? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, the resolution is passed. Now we go to the manager's report. Mr. Zimboyer.
Yes, sir. 3 quick things. We've been working on, and I know John Carroll, this is close to his heart, the Hayward House site. Now it's called the Harvey Place. I think I've been working on that since 2016. Finally, we have a developer that wants to build there. They did go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, asked for 2 variances. They did receive those, so they're going to be moving forward with 10 townhouses that will be workforce housing. So we are thrilled about that, and that it will be done by Farino Builders, who was a very reputable company that has a very good relationship with the city and does very good work. So we're thrilled about that. We're knee deep or elbow deep in fiscal year 24 budget preparation. We will be calling for a workshop with the council probably in the next few weeks to see where we're at and get direction on completing that proposed document for your review. And then finally, I had the opportunity to do an interview with WHHI. I think that council has seen that. We've going to be able to do monthly interviews with the TV station talking about our successes and current pending issues. So it'll be a number of people will be meeting with the reporters for WHHI talking about our successes. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's do reverse alphabetical order and start with Mr. White.
I really don't have any issues. I've enjoyed the workshop so far. It's been very helpful. One of the things that I thought was very important is for Kevin and Vernon, to be part of the feedback system and a lot of the residents of Sun City, and it filtered in. And I think that got back to the Sun City Board, and I found that to be very helpful. And it was good to be part of those processes in the workshops and listening to what's being said and having a broad brush as well as a very refined and specific. So that was very helpful. That's my only comment, Harry.
Thank you. Let's see. We have a new council, so I have to get my alphabet correct again. Mr. Mearsman, it's your turn.
I'd just, again, like to say how proud I am to be a member of this council and working with what I feel is some of the best staff available in South Carolina. The community has taken a real interest as how we grow and the direction that we're growing. We're seeing so many new faces within our community, and we're getting them involved in our community. And that's going to make us grow stronger and stronger. And I've said this so many times, we will eventually be the community that others in South Carolina will look at and say, geez, I want to be like Hardeeville. And that's it.
I want to recognize Mr. Simbo for his help recently with a neighbor of mine that had an issue with some concrete work, and she reached out through the Hardeeville Listens, and she absolutely loves that program because it helped her a lot. But Mr. Simbo did all the heavy lifting on that. He reached out to the people who were involved in that whole issue, and they got it worked out in just a matter of hours, and it saved that lady a lot of money. So she wanted me to thank everybody who was involved, and thank you. Yes. So Hardeeville Listens is working.
Mr. Carroll.
Just a few things. We did have an LCOG meeting last Thursday, first one for the year. And it was pretty productive and kind of agenda for the coming year. Had the blood drive, which I think was a pretty good success for remembering Officer Mark Jones, who was an officer here and got killed in the line of duty. Trash pickup, I wanted to thank the city. It's kind of sad to see, but anyway, they picked up a lot of trash around Hardeeville, Pine Arbor, and some others that people had thrown out of the car, and it really looked nice. It's just a shame they have to do that. And also wanted to mention, we've had 2 deaths this week from longtime local residents. The Bubba Crosby family, longtime members of the this Hardeeville family, Jasper County, Beaufort County, and also Miss Donna Hudson, taught in the Jasper County schools for about 35 years, also passed away in the last couple of days. And I want to give my condolences and thanks to what all they've done, and condolences to the family. And that's it.
Has the funeral arrangements been made for Mr. Crosby?
2 o'clock tomorrow.
2 o'clock tomorrow? Okay. Where at, John?
Bluffton.
Bluffton?
Saul's Funeral Home in Bluffton.
Oh, okay. All right. Just a couple of quick things. I've already thanked Bo for taking over the last meeting. Good job, Bo. I've already asked, I had it in my notes, so I'll check them off. Getting the workshops for traffic and stormwater that we promised the public. Please, let's go forward on that. I want to thank the Jasper County Chamber of Commerce for the State of the County luncheon, and that's usually put on our website. Has that been put on the website yet? The film of the State of the County? Do we know?
Yes, sir.
It's up? Okay, good. Because we have a couple of, tomorrow, Mr. Zimbor and I will be at First Friday. And as part of that, I think Dr. Waddell, who we just had a ribbon cutting, will explain. He's going to take the first 5 minutes of First Friday tomorrow. So for those of you who attend First Fridays, he's a new chiropractor down the street, a nice young doctor, and we welcome him to Hardeeville. I also want to thank the residents of Riverton Point for inviting me to speak, and Mr. Zimbor and I will be giving a version of that talk tomorrow in Sun City on First Friday. And as always, that is open to the public for anyone who likes to come in. We had a joint Planning Commission Council meeting this past week. I thought it was very productive. Whenever you have we talked about communication being our goals. I think that was a good session for everybody to have a chance to speak what's on their mind. And I think having more joint meetings, whether it be 2 or 3 a year, is healthy. So we know we're on the same page with the Planning Commission. At the Soloco meeting on Tuesday, we heard from 4 jurisdictions, including Hardeeville, on their plans for capital plans going forward in 2023 and beyond. And one of the things that Bluffton is doing that I thought was really very healthy, they have what they're calling the Police Department Health Center. And I know that we need to do renovations on the police department, and I asked Bluffton to please send us the details regarding what they do, what their objectives are, how much it costs to build that, because, and Chief, you probably are more aware of that than I am, but it sounded like a good program, and maybe if, let's take a look at it and see if it's as I said to them, I've never seen a good idea I didn't want to steal, so if it's worth stealing, let's get it, okay? We have all been sent a request from Mr. Ted Moyd regarding a event that he's sponsoring for the first time in May. I'd like the council to decide on whether or not we want to put forward funds for that event. And Mr. Zimbor, I think that's the beginning of May. Please, let's have that on the agenda so the council can decide. So in the meantime, the council, everybody got from what Mr. Moyd sent? I haven't responded to it yet, but I'll tell him that we'll decide at the next meeting what our level of support will be. Today I had the pleasure of reading to ninth graders. This is Reading Across America Month. And I want to thank Mr. White because he gave me a book as a present at Christmas time called Red and Me. And it was really quite inspirational, so I used it in my reading to these ninth graders. And it's quite the story about Bill Russell and Red Auerbach in the 50s and 60s and how they set records in the NBA, particularly 8 consecutive NBA championships. It's unbelievable. So thank you, Bo. It came in very handy. I got a note here for council. I'll pass it around. I won't read it, but we got a thank you note from the 200 Club for the $12,000 donation. So I'll pass that around. There's some nice thank yous there. And congratulations to Mr. Zimbor with his behind-the-scenes help from Mr. Parsons. The WHHI segment was outstanding. Very well done. Okay, that's all I have to say. And at this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Nobody wants to do motions tonight. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Anybody else want to make a second?
Second.
Anybody else? Anybody wants to go home? Say aye. Aye. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your input.